You know, it's crazy. I came to realize that a lot of the crystals in our technology and everything, and crystals yet to be used in future technology. See, I'm talking about like quartz, a whole bunch of others or whatever. You know, I don't want to go through a list of it and have to think of a bunch of different kinds of crystals. Okay, but a lot, if not all of them, and even crystals that we are not aware of, can all be found in our brain. You know, the pineal gland, yes, it's a crystallized thing that exudes, you know, a wet, a, a wet essence or whatever you want to call it. You know, but the pineal gland isn't the only crystalline thing. You know, there's crystals all throughout the brain. It's crazy. People don't realize that. You know, so you know, this is hypothetical. No, I would never do this unless I had explicit, you know, permission, and I could do it legally through, you know, um, learning cadavers or whatever like that. But I want to know, like, could you like take that brain, remove all the different types of crystals from the brain? The pineal gland, yes, you can because it's surrounded by a gland with a crystalline center. But all the other ones, all the little ones in your like neural frontal cortex, you know, or the ones in your reptilian part of the brain, whatever, you know, all that stuff. Like, what happens if you removed all those crystals? Like, could you extract them? You know, and what would happen? Like, what would they look like? It's crazy. You know, it makes you look at cannibalism a little bit differently because you know a lot of a lot of bodies or whatever like that lately and stuff that you can't find and stuff. They just some seem to be missing the head or they have a big old hole in their head. So I wonder what would happen if you could, you know, if you extracted those crystals from a human brain and what they could do, you know, like what you would figure out studying them, you know, and what they would look like after you know, extracted them from the regular brain matter. Oh yeah, and all these crystals can usually be found in animal brains too. So, you know, what would it look like? What would it be? I would never like go out, you know, kill an animal just to figure this out or whatever. I can't. That would break my heart. And I couldn't honestly. I couldn't even take a dead animal that didn't agree for me to do this to them. I really couldn't. It would be really hard. I would have to be in desperate times, or there would have to be a very good reason. You know, even the meat I eat and stuff like that. Like it's crazy, but I wonder what it would look like dried out. Extracting all the crystals from the brain because there's more than trillions. You know, I don't quintillions. I don't know the exact number, but they're all up in that brain. Crystals of different types, magnetized crystals that transfer synapse energy from place to place. You know, or no, they don't transfer, but they process, I guess, those spots in your brain that there's crystals all up in those areas where you see the brain light up on a more detailed energy transfer form or whatever, you know? And then there's those are the active crystals, that's how they show up. And then the inactive crystals, they're just that's the space around them. You know, so what would happen if you remove those crystals from an animal or even a human being? You know, what would they look like? What could you do with that? You know, could it be used as medicine or stuff like that? Because we use, you know, we transfer organs and stuff. Somebody, an organ donor, and you know, pay a few $100,000, and you get you get a new organ. You know, what happens for brain damaged people? You know, could you use those crystals in some way to be able to repair those damaged parts of the brain? You know, to reestablish damaged connections, neural connections that might have been damaged during whatever, you know? I really wonder what's up with them brain crystals. I think there's a lot. I think there's more going on with those brain crystals in the world, and I think people know about it. And they're, oh no, it's a secret type of stuff. But I'm done with secrets and stuff. You know, though I do admit, if someone like volunteered, you know, like donated me their brain, or if I was able to communicate with an animal enough that, you know, like, hey, when you die naturally, all I want is your brain to study right away, you know, and I want to try to figure out how to extract those crystals from your brain. You know, if I could have an animal, I would do it if I had permission and agreement, because I know there's a theory on organ transfer that if you take someone's organ and they weren't really willing, it's less likely to take to a new host. To where if, right before someone passes or whatever, if they're like, yeah, I really want to save a life, and they meet their donor and stuff like that, there's a higher chance of success. I know it sounds crazy, but it's the truth. Like, there's research on this stuff, and it's the like what we figured out with those one particles of streams of energy or whatever. When they're being observed, you know, they act differently than when they're not being observed. You know? So, like, when an organ knows what it's going to do, it's going to behave differently than if it's just thrown in somewhere new and it's like, hey, this isn't the body I grew up in, you know, type of stuff. It's a good way to look at it. But I would. Like, if I had permission and I knew nobody was gonna hunt me down and throw me in locked up, I would definitely accept a donated human brain from the person it belonged to. Okay, I don't want people to go up, oh yeah, no, that's all right, and lie to me and stuff and everything. Like, no, I would need express permission from the person it belonged to before they passed away, and I would research that stuff, and I would share my research with the whole world. Oh, it was just something I was thinking of.